welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a $20 emergency budget challenge, so hopefully we can feed our family for, I'm hoping for 3 to 4 days. We're going to see how far we can stretch it out. I'm going to try to be a little more creative this time and add in some more vegetables. I am just assuming that you have basic seasonings at the house like salt and pepper, paprika, just different type of seasonings that you can use. And anytime that I do use a seasoning that you don't have, feel free to grab just whatever that you have, whatever you think that would make that meal more flavorful. I definitely do not like dull, boring dishes and recipes, so I try to spice my food up and give it as much flavor as I can with the stuff that I have on hand. So I hope that you enjoy this video. I hope that this gives you inspiration for meals that you can provide your family for really cheap. I try to make all of my emergency budget meals close to 50 to 60 cents per meal. It really just depends on what I'm making. I do make all my meals with meat. I don't think I've ever had a meal that doesn't have meat in it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. So all these meals are gonna have meat. They're gonna be flavorful. They're gonna be delicious. So grab your apron and let's get started.
All right, this is everything that I got for my meals this week. So I'm just gonna show you everything that I got, and I'll be putting the prices in the video of how much every meal was. So first off, we have some English muffins. We have some sausage links. I'll end up using all of that. Some sausage. We're only going to use half of that sausage, all the cheese, the eggs. I have about 6 eggs here. And then we have some potatoes. I actually use more potatoes because of the recipes. I end up using more potatoes. And we have some queso, some broccoli. I actually only use one of those broccolis. And then we have some ham steak. We have some beans, some rice, and we have some biscuits and croissants. So the first thing that we're going to be making is a breakfast pizza on English muffins. So here I'm just cracking 3 eggs, and then I'm going to whip it together. And if you have any type of dairy, some milk, some heavy whipping cream, some half and half, whatever you have on hand, you can add to it. You can even add water to make your eggs stretch further. And I'm just going to scramble these up like normal. I put some salt and pepper in with it as well. And then I'm going to take that 1 packet of gravy mix, and I'm just putting in, I think I use half a cup of water and stir that together. And then I have 1 3/4 cup of water that I'm boiling at the same time. And then when that comes to a boil, then I'm just going to add in this gravy mix that I'm stirring up right now. While I'm waiting on the water to boil, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my sausage. So I'm only using half of this sausage, and that's all that I use throughout this video is just this half of a sausage. So if you see the price, that price is only for half of it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and ground this up. And what's great about that sausage is I just put it in a Ziploc baggie. I put it back in the freezer, and I can use it for another recipe a different day. So I'm just going to ground up this sausage, and then when it's done cooking, I'm just going to put it in a different container, and I'm going to use that grease that I cooked my sausage in, and I'm just going to use that grease for my eggs to make my eggs a little bit more flavorful. That way I don't have to use bacon grease, and I don't have to use butter or anything like that. I'm trying to be as resourceful as I can. And before I do my eggs, I'm going to go ahead and finish off my gravy here since it was boiling. And I just give it a good stir, maybe about a minute, and it'll already be thick after about a minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and take it off the burner and then get started on my eggs. And these eggs won't take very long because my pan has already been heating up, so it maybe takes 30 seconds to cook these eggs. And a big thing for me is I cannot stand it when eggs are overdone. I like them I take them off the burner when they're a little bit glossy, so that they're nice and tender and they're not dry or anything like that. So when the eggs are done cooking, I'm also just going to put it in a bowl and then take that off the burner, and then that's basically it. That's done. I toasted these English muffins, and now I'm just going to put some gravy on the bottom. And then I'm going to put some eggs, the sausage, and then I have a little bit of cheese in the fridge that I need to use up. So I just used just a tiny bit of cheese on top. If you don't have any cheese, this tastes amazing without it, but cheese is like amazing. So if we can, we try to add cheese to our meals if we can afford it. So this was for my 3 kids, and I went ahead and tried a bite of my son's, and it was so delicious. I don't usually eat breakfast, so I'm just showing you what it looks like. All right, now I'm going to make some red beans and rice, some traditional beans and rice and beans type of a meal. So right now I'm just using these dry beans, and I'm just going to get them soaked up into that water so that the beans are nice and tender. You can use canned beans, but these dry beans are cheaper, so I wanted to go ahead and go that route. And so I'm just going to put them in my Instant Pot for about 50 minutes, and then I'll check on them in a minute. And then while that's cooking, I diced up my andouille sausage, and then I had some of these peppers, and so I have jalapenos, onions, and green peppers from my garden that were in my fridge, and I desperately needed to use them up. Aren't these like the tiniest little onions I've ever seen? Oh my word, they were so tiny. But I just went ahead and used it from my garden. So if you have any type of peppers, just to kind of give your beans some flavor, that is what I did there. And now the 50 minutes have been up, so I'm just going to check on them, make sure they're tender. And as you can see, they look fairly done, but they're going to go in the crock pot. So if they're not 100% done, it's fine, because I went ahead and put them in the slow cooker for probably another couple hours, about 3 to 4 hours after that. And here I'm just adding some seasonings. So I add about a tablespoon of chili powder and maybe a teaspoon of salt, and mixing that up. You could add whatever type of seasonings that you want. I think I also add in some onion powder, just whatever type of seasonings that you want for your beans. And here I'm just transferring it to the slow cooker. And then I'm going to add in my andouille sausage and my peppers and onions, just to give it that extra flavor. If you have like green chilies, maybe like a can of green chilies, that would be amazing too. Whatever you have on hand. And then I am going to put the lid on. I did end up adding a little bit of water just so everything is covered and the beans can cook just a little bit more. Now that everything's covered, I'm just going to go ahead and add in about a teaspoon of whatsoever sauce and probably 1 to 2 teaspoons of this onion powder, and just to give it some more flavoring to it. And I'm basically just going to let this cook on low for about 5 hours, just until the beans are nice and tender. And this is just what it looks like before I cook it. And about 20 minutes before the beans are done cooking, I went ahead and started my rice. So I put in 3 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of rice. Now you can just do water if you don't have any chicken broth, or you can use the bouillon cubes as well. I used like that powdery bouillon cubes. So now I'm just going to put this in my Instant Pot on the rice function, so it cooks for about 12 minutes. And then when it's done, then we're able to serve it up. And this is what it looks like when it's all done. It's very, very juicy, flavorful. My husband gave it like an A+. He said it was really good on flavor. And this is everything that we had left over after our first dinner. This made 2 dinners and a lunch. We had tons and tons. I think it made like 15 meals. It was crazy how much this made. Okay, for the next breakfast, I'm going to make these like sausage croissant rolls. So I'm going to cook up that sausage, all of that sausage. I'm only going to use half of it for this meal. And then I'm going to crack 3 eggs and I'm going to scramble them. Now, like I did before, you could add in any type of dairy. You can add in some water anyway to make these eggs go further. And then I'm going to put in some salt and pepper just to give it a little bit of flavoring and cook these up like normal on our frying pan. And I will show you what it looks like in a minute. All right, and I just lightly buttered our pan, and now I'm adding in our eggs, and I just scramble those up like normal. Now I have a packet of croissant rolls, and I'm just going to break them up, and this is going to end up making about 8 different rolls here. And I just used my sausage link and a little bit of eggs, and if you have cheese, I'm sure this would be good too. My husband said it was fine without it and that he didn't want any cheese, but I just roll it up as carefully as I possibly can. But we've never made these before, and they were so good. I think it's gonna be like a Sunday staple. They were just easy to make. Everyone liked them, and just actually easy, like grab and go breakfast. So I might make these ahead of time, and we can freeze them, and they'll be good like that too. So I went ahead and put these in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes, just until they were lightly golden brown on top. And this is what it looked like when it was all done. You could even dip this in like some syrup. It would be good like that too. And we just had it by itself, and they were delicious. All right, now I'm making some cheesy ham, rice, and broccoli casserole mix. And so I just diced up some ham, and now I'm dicing up this cheese. It says to use 7 ounces or 6 ounces, but I ended up using this whole 8-ounce block of cheese. And I just shredded it like normal. You can use pre-shredded. It's whatever you have on hand. And then once that's all shredded, I just made a cup of rice like normal. So 1 cup of rice to 1.5 cups of water or chicken broth, whichever that you have on hand. I always spray my Instant Pot ahead of time, just so that rice doesn't stick. And I'm just going to cook this like normal in my Instant Pot, just like we did before, and cook it on the rice function for about 12 minutes. And then when it's done, then we're going to add in the rest of our stuff. I just love using the Instant Pot because it cooks the rice so perfectly. Like, it's not overdone, it's never underdone, it's just perfect. And when I use the nonstick spray, it doesn't stick to the pan or anything like that. I just really, really enjoy using the Instant Pot. So now that my rice is done, I went ahead and add in that diced up ham. And now I'm just going to add in 1 cup of broccoli. And I'm just mixing that up and chopping up the broccoli just to make sure that they're in a little bit finer pieces. And then when those are all chopped up, then I'm going to go ahead and add in my cheese. Now, this rice mixture was kind of dry, so you do want to add a little bit of some dairy products if you have it on hand. I just had some half and half, so I put in just a tiny bit of half and half. I think this would have been perfect with maybe some evaporated milk, just to make it creamy instead of it being so sticky, and it just really clumped together. So it did need something. You can even add water. That if you don't have any type of dairy products on hand, you can add in water, and that would even help it to be creamy and not stick so much together. Just whatever that you have on hand. And here I'm just plating it for my kids' lunch, and you know, they really weren't a big fan because, you know, there's broccoli in it. Of course not. But they ate it, and you know what? So is life. Can always have what you want. I thought it was so good. I really enjoyed it. And for the last breakfast, I'm just making some traditional biscuits and gravy using this canned biscuits. And I'm just going to cook these per the directions on the can. And then when they're done, I actually end up using the rest of that gravy that I had at the beginning of the video when I made those breakfast pizzas. So I had a lot of gravy left over, so I'm just using what's left of that gravy and pouring it on top of my biscuits. And then we had some sausage from those crescent rolls that we didn't end up using. We only used half of those sausage links. So I'm just basically reusing all the things that we didn't eat all of. So it's important that we don't waste in our house. So I'm trying to be creative about how to make sure that we're eating everything that I make. I mean, who doesn't love biscuits and gravy? My kids loved it, of course. And this last meal here, I'm actually going to be making some baked potatoes in this Instant Pot. I really feel like the only way to make baked potatoes is in the Instant Pot. They cook it perfectly. It saves time. I used to cook them in the oven, and I don't really want to heat up my oven, so I just put them in the Instant Pot. I put these in for an hour, but I do recommend only putting them in for 50 minutes. I didn't know for how many that I put in there if an hour would be long enough, but they were slightly overdone. I mean, everyone still liked them and everything, but they were pretty done. So while that's cooking, about maybe 20 minutes before that the potatoes are done, I'm gonna get started on this queso that I'm gonna be making. And yes, I scorched the bottom of them because that's how awesome I am. I'm trying to like stir it through and maybe see if it'll like cook down, but it doesn't. So I ended up having to take some of those burnt pieces out. It's fine. It's fine. Everyone ate it. No one complained about anything being scorched. They didn't even taste it. So, I mean, I tried to take them out, but some of them was just left in there. But here I'm adding a whole can of evaporated milk with a third of the block of cheese that I have. So I didn't use, you know, I only used a third of it, so I didn't even use close to all of that block of cheese. And then I had like half a can of Rotels in my fridge that I just went ahead and used. If you have tomatoes or anything like that, just use what you have on hand. But I wanted to go up and use up those tomatoes, so that's what you see there. And then I have about 2 cups of broccoli that I am using in this video. So the whole video I only use 1 bag of broccoli. And here I'm just going to be making some baked potatoes, and I'm putting that cheese, broccoli, rotel mixture over it. Basically queso with broccoli in it. And it was really, really good. My husband was a skeptic. He didn't know if he'd like it or not. I've seen it at McAllister's, so I was like, surely I can make something like that. And it tastes good, and it was. It was really, really good. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it was an inspiration. I'll see you in the next video.